Welcome to r/JustNoHOA, where people share stories about their crazy homeowner associations that make us feel better about not living in an HOA. If you are new to the channel, please don't forget to subscribe to join our awesome community. Without any further ado, let's dive right into the stories. And the first one is titled, HOA President just did the dumbest thing imaginable. Backstory: I own a bunch of rentals in a bunch of communities. I'm no stranger to HOAs and legal battles. I have a company attorney on retainer. I just moved into a community and finally bought myself a house I plan to stay in for a while. A month after closing, construction starts. Permits pulled all legal work during the day, following all the CC&Rs, etc. Karen recently got elected to the board, and in her own words, "The war is on." This war started when I requested the following: HOA's financial documents, 2 months and they have not produced, a temporary reasonable accommodation after a major surgery. I was told to go F yourself. Her husband changing his oil in the parking lot. By the way, got it on video on my security cam. So far I have received 4 violation notices. The first one, speeding in the parking lot. Second, political sign, opponent to her political sign in her front yard. Furthermore, violation of peaceful enjoyment, construction noise, and finally harassing the HOA. This one was a cease and desist. And lastly, destruction of community property for washing my car with hose. So my attorney goes to work on the upcoming fight. My attorney BCCs me on all emails to the association and the management company. I wish I was making this up. Karen is so effing stupid. She replied all on an email meant for just the property manager. A few snippets. "I'm going to keep finding him and make his life hell. He's a nightmare and a punk kid with too much money. We're going to drown him in lawyer fees and send him the bill until he finally submits to me. This is now personal. I'm on a mission to show that punk kid with his parents' money that I'm the goddamn president and he will do as I say." My lawyer called me 6 times at 10:30 last night and said, "Holy crap, check your mail." 9 AM my attorney sent a cease and desist to the entire board and included a copy of the mail. Mine and his phone have been blowing up non-stop from the 4 other board members and their attorneys trying to just talk. This woman may be the stupidest person on earth. I honestly cannot wait to see the fallout from this. And guys, obviously, if there are any further updates, I will keep you posted. Furthermore, please let me know in the comments if you guys still enjoy r/JustNoHOA, because we have not read it in a while due to the fact that there have not been too many good stories around. And the next one is titled, That Is Not My Fence. So I got a violation notice about my exterior fence back in October. My fence was in violation. I had a replacement slat that was unstained. So I did the responsible thing and put 2 coats of stain on the offending slat. I thought that was the end of it. Today I received a certified letter from my HOA stating that I have ignored the previous compliance letter. I now have 30 days to correct the issue or I will be fined $500. The letter provided a handy link to view photos of my offense. It is not my fence, it is not even an adjacent fence. They are closed for the weekend, so I cannot do anything until Monday. I think my dog is also tired of me complaining about it. Sorry Susan, this is how our weekend is going to play out. Oh, and just to make things worse, the linked photo is dated March 17, so checking on fences is an essential service right now? Update: I called and left a voice message first thing this morning for the contact person listed in the letter. Her name is Samantha. I'm just going to call her Sam from now on because it is shorter than contact person. I had not heard back from anyone other than the board president. She apologized and reached out herself to the management company on my behalf. There was more to our conversation. The edit is already going to be long. I called again after lunch. It is Monday after all, weekend stuff to take care of, and I left another message. I finally got an email from Sam. She apologized for the error. She gave some excuses like, "It is hard to tell where one fence line ends and another begins." And yes, that is true, but the fence in question is at the other end of the street. So Sam said she was going out to confirm the correct address for the offending fence, and apologized again, maybe why she was not there when I called. She stated that any violations would be removed from account. I asked that I receive a paper statement via physical showing no violations. If I get a paper violation, I should get a paper non-violation. No response to that yet. I know there are many comments that I have not responded to. And guys, if you have watched until here, I have to ask a big favor from you. I've noticed in the last couple of days that YouTube is actively not giving out notifications to a huge part of my subscriber base, which results in lower views, which can over time sort of destroy the channel because it will get less recommended in the algorithm. As a countermeasure, it would be awesome if you could click the bell button to always receive updates about my videos. Thank you so much in advance. The next one is titled, Son's Birdhouse Got Me a Fine. My son had turned 4 and wanted to build a birdhouse. I'm thrilled anytime he wants to make something and not sit glued to the TV or iPad, so we went out to get one of those birdhouse kits with the pre-cut pieces. He loves being independent, so aside from starting the nails and helping him figure out which piece goes where, I let him do his thing. He even painted it after, calling it the rainbow house, so you can guess what it looked like. This thing was barely staying together, but it was his and he was so proud of it. We put it on our table on the back deck, and when I got home from work the next day, I had a letter from the HOA shoved in my door. It was a $50 fine for having an animal sanctuary on our property. I went down to the property management office to argue the fine and was told they would take me to court if I did not pay. Since technically it fell under the definition of an animal sanctuary, even though I doubt any birds would ever use it, I decided to save some money and just pay the fine instead of fighting it in court. The worst part of this whole ordeal was explaining to my son why he could not show off his birdhouse. I told him what the HOA had said, and he told me when we move next time that we should make sure there are not any HOAs around. And guys, I would say, God bless that little boy, he has totally understood what HOAs are. And by the way, I'm curious, after hearing all these HOA stories in the past, would you still be willing to live in an HOA managed community? Let me know in the comments, and while you're at it, please also post some star emojis and like the video if you want to support me. All support is very much needed at the moment, as I mentioned before, so thank you so much in advance. And the next one is titled, Disabled Veteran Could Not Care for His Lawn, Homeowners Association Put a Lien on His House. A disabled Texas veteran is in the biggest fight of his life. Even more challenging, he says, than his deployments in the Middle East after his HOA has put liens on his home for thousands of dollars in fines for not maintaining his yard according to standards. Being disabled, he says he cannot do the yard work and the homeowners association is just going to have to accept that. Retired Army Staff Sergeant Daniel served 4 tours of duty in Iraq and Afghanistan. In 2009, while serving in Afghanistan, he stepped on an improvised explosive device, IED, placed by an insurgent and almost lost his life. For a while, it looked like we would not leave Afghanistan alive. Fortunately, army medics were able to save his life. 7 years and 30 surgeries later, the disabled veteran has had amputations and suffers from PTSD. He admits that he has difficulties adjusting to civilian life, including being a sole parent to his 11 and 12-year-old children. I was always deployed, he says. The Purple Heart winner also suffers from PTSD, but the biggest adjustment he's had to face in civilian life is being a homeowner. The disabled veteran lives in the suburban neighborhood of Hunter Grove, and homeowners in Hunter's Grove, like homeowners in neighborhoods all over the country, belong to an HOA. HOAs are notorious for being punctilious about their exacting and arcane standards, as well as for aggressively hassling homeowners who don't meet those standards. For Daniel, the Hunter Grove Homeowners Association has taken exception to how he has kept up his yard and fence, as well as, of all things, where he keeps his trash can. Daniel would not say what problem specifically the HOA has with his trash can placement, and the HOA's 22-page list of rules and regulations does not mention trash cans. Regardless of where the HOA wanted the trash cans, Daniel could not keep them there due to being disabled. And as for the yard work, once again, says Daniel, he's disabled and uses a wheelchair and cannot do yard work. And neither can his kids, being preteens. Regardless of his limitations, the HOA has cut the disabled veteran exactly 0 slack. The covenants state that the HOA can punish violations with fines. Daniel won't say specifically how much, but he says it is thousands of dollars. And since Daniel cannot or won't pay, the HOA has put a lien on his house. As many a homeowner has found out to their dismay, there's little to nothing you can do when your HOA comes after you. When you purchase a home in a neighborhood with an HOA, you are signing a private contract and are legally bound to its terms. About all you can do is sue and hope you prevail in court, or take your story to the media and hope the publicity publicly shames your HOA into backing off. The disabled Texas veteran is hoping that sharing his story with the media will put pressure on his HOA to cut him a break. And guys, obviously I'm not American, so I'm not equally emotionally invested in veterans as you are, but I can definitely understand that something is happening here that should not be happening. I mean, this guy obviously did a great service to your country, and he's raising 2 kids on his own as far as I understood, and still the HOA cuts him 0 slack. Let me know in the comments what you think about this story. And by the way, of course, I know you would be rioting if I did not give you an update, so I specifically searched for one and was successful. The update reads like this. After publishing the story, calls and emails from around the state culminated into an organized effort to help Sergeant Daniel sort out his troubles, and among those stepping up to help were State Representative Scott Holcomb, a Democrat, and Jeremy Berry, a well-known attorney for Dentons. A GoFundMe was established after a suggestion by readers, and some even chose to send donations directly to Sergeant Daniel. The response was overwhelming. Between the 2 fundraising efforts, nearly $2,500 was raised to aid in settling outstanding fees, find a lawn care service, and even get ahead on 2017 HOA dues. And Rep. Holcomb and Jeremy Berry worked with the attorney representing the HOA, and the 2 parties were able to come to an amicable agreement. Most importantly, the lien will be lifted, and an area landscaping company came forward and will provide lawn care for at least the next year. Additionally, an organization has contacted the sergeant to assist in building an addition onto his home to provide for a bedroom and bathroom on the downstairs level. Currently, injuries and disabilities make getting up the stairs very difficult. But that is not the end of it. A community benefit ride will be held on April 15th to raise money through raffles, food, fun and fellowship that will go directly to Sergeant Daniel and his 2 children. The power of community and the internet is amazing. And by the way guys, just so you know, in case you find any interesting HOA news articles that I have not read yet, please post them on r/ripe stories or send them to my business email that you can find in the about page on my YouTube channel. The next one is titled, Am I the a-hole for not inviting the neighborhood snitch or the HOA board to our neighborhood barbecue? There is around 10 houses in my neighborhood of 120 that are not in the HOA, mine included. We or previous owners were smart enough to not join the HOA. As a result, I am able to make extensions, and I have a pool which I host neighborhood parties occasionally. My HOA is one of the worst HOAs, constantly fining people hundreds of dollars for parking violations, painting their fence the wrong shades of brown, wrong color curtains, having 2 flags, etc. They are not the worst HOA, but they are bad. We also got a crappy neighbor, Jessica, who likes to go around and snap photos of people's violations and then post it on the Nextdoor app to shame them. She prides herself in this, thinking it makes the neighborhood better when she shames the neighbors for having a fence that is 2 inches too high, or the Johnsons for having light brown doors instead of a dark brown door. Jessica is a effing female dog, she has probably cost neighbors thousands of dollars in fees or forcing them to renovate. I absolutely lost my crap when Jessica posted in the Nextdoor app about how Mrs. Jensen, an 85-year-old woman currently having serious medical issues, has a lawn that is a couple inches too high. She obviously cannot mow the lawn and was too busy to notice. The HOA then fined her $500. I made a post in the Nextdoor app about the Nextdoor app saying that the suburban fascists on the HOA board, not Jessica, were invited to my barbecue at my house. Jessica went on a rant saying how much of an angel she is and how she protects the neighborhood doing her duty, and I told her she's a low-life scumbag busybody and is a pathetic loser with nothing better to do. A couple people said I was bullying and excluding her, and like 4 of her friends are boycotting my party and hosting their own party. The party happened and nobody else showed up to theirs, and ours was a blast. She apparently cried over it. So guys, I'm curious, would you say OP, aka the creator of this story, is the a-hole or not? Let us know in the comments. And the next one is titled, "Damn it, it actually happened to me." I have said on here many times I would never ever buy in an HOA. I have almost 4 acres, meets and bounds in the county, with chickens, sometimes goats and pigs or other livestock. So my back 2 acres have grown over, no goats right now, and while I love blackberries, they are taking over. So I rented a skid steer this weekend and started clearing to the back of my property, something I have not done in years. Well, the back of my property, there is a creek, not quite within the property lines for me, so I don't have access to it, and there is a typical planned subdivision, I'm sure with an HOA, not sure, don't care, that is butts up to my property. And well, I'm happily knocking down trees and piling them up along my property line, and one of the neighbors walks over through the woods and says, "You cannot do that with the 200-foot easement." Excuse me? I have no effing 200-foot easement. That would be half my property I cannot use. She insists there is a 200-foot easement for the creek. What the hell? That is usually 20 feet for creeks. So she brings over a copy of her deed. I've been here 16, almost 17 years now. I don't actually have a copy of my deed handy because why would I? Anyway, long story short, her property is 419 feet deep by about 120 feet wide, and yep, there is in fact a 200-foot easement for U&D, utility and drainage for her. My sister is a real estate agent, so I had her pull my deed up, and nope, no such easement for me. Good job buying a house that you cannot use half your property because it is all an easement. I guess the issue with HOAs is that in some cases you don't really have a choice, because if you have found a nice house and it is just the perfect one, so maybe you have to bite the bullet and just accept that you will be living under the dictatorship of an HOA, but who knows. And the first one is titled, "The Virus and HOA Violation Letters, a Cautionary Tale from a Board Member." Last one is titled, "Yes, I am an HOA board member. I follow this subreddit closely because I like to see where HOAs skid off the rails and do wrong. Try to get some perspective, try to make my HOA what it should be and not some of the horror stories we all see here. And I've got a story that has really kinda bothered me from this past weekend." So, like I said, I am on my HOA's board, and I was having a virtual Skype beer with my best friend over the weekend. He is a team lead of property managers at the same company that has our management contract. To clarify, he is on the other side of our city and does not manage the girl who is our property manager. But he knows the policies and often knows more about the local vendors and contractors that work gets subbed out to. So we are having our beer and catching up, and I tell him that our community manager sent over the violation letters for our approval last week, and there were easily 3 times more than usual, most of them highly nitpicky. And these letters have been my personal crusade during my tenure. I want to stop the nitpicky BS and just focus on the real detrimental problems that affect people. prior board members have, to their credit, wanted to stay out of the process, let the management company just do their thing, let's not have neighbors policing each other. And generally, that is cool, I get it, but some of the stuff just lacks common sense. Anyway, my buddy tells me the owner called up all the team leads and wants them to send more violation letters to help increase their income. He's worried about budget shortfalls with the scare. By the way, of course I cannot mention the full name of the virus, otherwise YouTube will demonetize me. Either way, which I don't fully understand, because we have a 4-year contract that we are stuck paying no matter what, so how are they in financial trouble all of a sudden? But regardless, the way the letters work, at least for us, is the management company charges us $10 per letter, some of that offsets printing and postage and gas for the person who inspects. Still, the more they send, the more money they can make. If a third letter is sent on the same topic, it is a $250 fine and we split that 50-50 with the management company. In our case, I have proposed an emergency resolution to cancel this month's batch of letters and suspend all violation letters and inspections until 30 days after our local quarantine restrictions get lifted. I have never disclosed to our community manager that I know someone else in her office. For exactly this reason, I wanted the inside track on this BS, not whatever canned policy response she gives me. But regarding the letters, I don't want older residents getting violation letters and feeling like they need to put themselves at risk to go to Lowe's or some crap. And the little companies that do mulch or power washing, I know they need the business and I worry for them, but let's be honest, they are non-essential and should not be out here working. Anyway, I just wanted to share that shady shit from the management company's owner. If you see extra letters going out, I would urge you to question who gets what fees and why, and ask if the things you've been asked to address are the kinds of things we should be worrying about right now as a society. Stay safe, everyone. And honestly guys, it's pretty incredible that HOAs keep up that level of harassment even in these critical times. And with that, we have reached the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed today's content, and if you did, please don't forget to subscribe to the channel to join our amazing community. Furthermore, don't forget to go to r/ripestories on Reddit to post your own stories if you want me to read them out in a video. I hope you have a fantastic day, and I see you again tomorrow.